Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So we're going to be doing another unboxing today, but this is actually not for anything Eagle Moss or Big Finish related or anything. This is actually something which, to be honest with you, I never thought I'd actually get, but we'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. And it is actually the season 17 collection limited edition Blu-ray box set. So we'll now open it up and take a look at it. Okay, so I believe it's should be very straightforward to open. It's just an Amazon package, no scissors required or anything. Yep, very straightforward to open. And here it is, Doctor Who The Collection Season 17. Now, for those of you who have watched the video I did a few months ago, called Doctor Who The Collection What's Next, you'll know that I am not actually a massive fan of Blu-rays, and I don't really have that much interest in collecting them. I'm more of a DVD person, ultimately, because I just prefer DVDs. And whilst that has still remained true, I've had to, apologies if there's any flashing lights in the back there, but I've had to actually ended up breaking that rule of not having any Blu-rays, and I've gone ahead and got one anyway. Now there is a good reason for that, and that is because, well, I suppose since this is the first this is the only season of Doctor Who that was script edited by Douglas Adams, who obviously is also probably more famous for doing stuff like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Dirk Gently and stuff like that. And yeah, I've always loved his work. I've read all the Hitchhiker's books, I've watched the film and TV show, I've read and watched bits of the Dirk Gently stuff as well. I've always been a massive fan of his work, both in and outside of Doctor Who. So I couldn't pass up an opportunity to get this, even if this is, you know, Blu-rays are not something that I would normally get. So yeah, that is why this is my first actual collection box set that I've got. So for those of you who are wondering why on earth has he gone for season 17 out of all the possible seasons that he could get, there we are. That is why, ultimately, because I'm just such a massive fan of Douglas Adams, and yeah, I think season 17 is a very overlooked season of Doctor Who, ultimately. I think what people tend to talk about the most of this season is probably Destiny of the Daleks, City of Death, and then Sharda, the famous story that was never completed due to strike action at the time at the BBC. And yeah, people beyond especially talking about Sharda, they don't normally talk that much about that much else about this season beyond that. So I think it's a very overlooked season. Now, yes, a lot of it is, like, a lot of the stories in this season are definitely not the greatest ones, the greatest Doctor Who stories of all time ever, certainly not. But at the same time, I don't know, the thing about season 17 is ultimately, even with like some of the worst stories from this season, because of the Douglas Adams like witty humour and everything, there's still always something that there's still always a sense of enjoyment I can get out of all of these stories, actually. So with season 17, you've got, like I talked about earlier, Destiny of the Daleks. I know that's not a very popular one, especially when compared to the previous Dalek story, Genesis of the Daleks. I know a lot of people prefer that one to Destiny, and I get why. I do myself prefer it, but I think that Destiny of the Daleks is, I don't think it's as bad as people say, but I do agree with a lot of why they think that. I think, it's ultimately, it's nowhere near as good as Genesis, certainly not, or later ones like Resurrection of the Daleks or Remembrance of the Daleks, but it's still enjoyable ultimately, and because of the Douglas Adams' sense of humour that is obviously definitely here throughout this entire season, I can still get a sense of enjoyment out of it ultimately. City of Death is one of my all-time favourite Doctor Who stories. I just love it to bits, and it's just a story which, I would, if I was stranded on a desert island, for example, I would happily just re-watch it for the rest of my days on that island, and yeah, I just love it. It's just I just have such enormous fun with it because it's just so. Again, it's the most Douglas Adams, I think, Doctor Who story of all of them. I mean, I know he didn't really properly write that many, but I think it is probably his most Douglas Adams, his most kind of, story, like the story that feels the most like his kind of style. And yes, since I'm, like I say, I'm a massive fan of his work, of course I'm going to like City of Death for that reason. It's just brilliantly silly, and I can just have a lot of fun with it, ultimately. The Creature from the Pit, Nightmare of Eden, and the Horns of Neyman, they're all, to varying degrees of kind of average or good enoughness. They're not terrible, but they're not like, I do remember bits from them, but not that much from them. But again, ultimately, because of the humour that is and wit that is brought into this season by Douglas Adams, ultimately I can still get a sense of enjoyment out of them. So that, I can still laugh at them and still have fun with them and enjoy them, even if they're not that great stories overall. And then Sharda, yeah, obviously because of the fact that it was never finished, it's kind of gains this almost mythical status in the Doctor Who fan community of being, like the great lost story, as it were, of the Tom Baker era. And, don't get me wrong, it is a really good story, but I do feel like if it wasn't for the fact that if it had been finished and completed and everything and gone on to be properly broadcast, I don't think people would give it as much attention as they do. So, but it's still a good story, and it's, again, I think that one is properly done by Douglas Adams this time, whereas City of Death was, I think, mainly co-written between him and the show's producer at the time, Graham Williams, under a pseudonym of David Agnew. So yeah, Sharda is a lot more, in that sense, a lot more like Douglas Adams. But yeah, I don't enjoy it as much as City of Death, but it's still a really great story nonetheless. So yeah, why did I actually... Well, I've talked already about why I got this, but some, again, like more reasons for why I got it is, for a start, like, it includes not just Sharda, but also the 6-episode version of the 2017 animation. Now, when that animation was originally released on DVD and Blu-ray, I believe it was just released as like a omnibus edition or extended version. There was no, it wasn't split up into 6 episodes, which I was very annoyed about at the time, actually. And I don't know, I do find it a bit strange that they didn't do that at the time, but I'm really grateful that now with this box set, I can enjoy Shada as it was originally intended to be, a 6-episode story with all the cliffhangers and everything. And then, you know, there's lots of other interesting special features, such as a tribute to Douglas Adams. There's an interview with Lala Ward. There's a interview with Bob Baker, who sadly passed away. He was the co-creator of K9 and wrote a lot of stories during the 1970s for Doctor Who. And we'll also go on to, I think he later wrote some of the Wallace and Gromit stuff as well. And yeah, it's just, I thought it was ultimately just too tempting. It was too much of a temptation not to get it, so I had to get it ultimately. Too much of a temptation to get it, so I had to get it ultimately. So we'll now take all this plastic packaging off and have a look inside it. Okay, so we're going to be very careful here with these scissors. So just cut that bit there at the top, and then we'll just peel away the rest of it. There we go, the plastic film or whatever is off now. So then we can look properly at the Blu-ray box set again. So we just try and slide this out. Here we go. So like that, and then we then have the cover art in all its glory. Then we have also lovely little more like artwork on the back. I believe it's from the creature from the pit. When I can't quite remember what happens, but the TARDIS is in space, and then there's the spaceship of, I can't quite remember, but the creature from the actual titular creature from the pit, that's his spaceship. And then we open it up to reveal this lovely artwork there from the Horns of Neyman. So then if we just open this one up, we then get lovely image from Destiny of the Daleks. And then if we open that further up, hold on, we get a booklet here talking about the season, I believe. Yeah, it talks about like the stories, and yeah, it's really nice. Like there's this, for example, this lovely artwork here for City of Death. So that's really nice. And then there's also this little leaflet here for more Doctor Who merchandise and everything. And then there's also this little lovely little backdrop here of the TARDIS interior from this season. Excuse me, with K9 being repaired there, and the hat stand and everything. I believe we even got some of the rocks from Destiny of the Daleks on the view screen there. Yeah, really lovely to have that. So let me just pop all this back in, and then the booklet as well. There we go. Excuse me. So then we have the discs themselves. So we start off with disc 1, Destiny of the Daleks, of course, that being the first story of the season. And then disc 2 is, of course, City of Death. And then we have next The Creature from the Pit. And then we have... Oh, sorry, some of the discs have just popped out. Let me just put them back in. Right, there we go. And then we've got disc 4, Nightmare of Eden. Disc 5 is the Horns of Neyman, of course. And then we have disc 6, Sharda. And finally we have disc 7, which is another Sharda. That might be the original VHS release or something, not too sure. As well as bonus, bonus material and special features and stuff. So yeah, I'm really happy to have this actually. I think I've definitely changed my mind a lot on, you know, whether on the collection box sets. Not to say that like my view on them was ever negative, because it definitely wasn't. I mean, like I said earlier, I've always really loved seeing the artwork for these by Lee Binding. I think he's just always done such an incredible, great job with them. And yeah, it's a lovely idea to re-release the classic seasons in this new style and everything, and includes way more in-depth special features and just, you know, great stuff. But yeah, I think I may get some more ultimately, but probably not every single one. I think I may just stick to, like I did with this one, like season 17, the Douglas Adams era of Doctor Who is an era of the show's history that I'm really very interested in, so I may just do the same. I know that the next box set that is going to be released in the standard edition types this time will be season 26. That will probably already have been released by the time you're watching this. But I think I've already pre-ordered that because, again, that's from another era of the show's history that I'm really interested in. And yeah, I may do the same for season 23. Obviously, I've talked about that with Elliot, Ryan and Charlie on the Kavam podcast. So if you haven't already, please do go check out that podcast. We'll probably have already, by the time this video is up, we'll probably have already covered season 17 and season 26 as well. So yeah, please do go check out those podcasts. So yeah, I'm really happy ultimately to have this in the collection. So now I'll pop it in its place on the shelf. Okay, so we have season 17 just there for the time being. So yeah, it's the first of the collection box sets that I've got. So it's a bit on its own at the minute, but hopefully when I get around to getting a few more, you know, it won't look quite as out of place, I suppose, as it does at the minute. So yeah, there it is for the time being on the shelf next to my DVDs and VHSs. So overall, what do I think of this box set? Well, ultimately, I'm really glad I got this actually, because I mean, I haven't actually watched this yet. I'm still waiting to get a Blu-ray player to play it all, because at the minute I only have a DVD one, and that doesn't include a Blu-ray player in it, which is a shame. But that's obviously because up until this point, I've never been interested in getting Blu-rays. But I'm glad I've changed my mind about this actually, and I'm especially glad I've started off with this one, to be honest. Again, I know it may seem like a very strange choice to go with, to start off with the collection box sets, but it's just an era of the show's history that, like I said earlier, I'm just so interested in. I just find it so intriguing, and It's a shame, I think, that Douglas Adams only stuck around to be the show's script editor for just the one season this season. But yeah, I really love his era on the show regardless, even if, a lot of it, I don't think tends to be a lot of the stories from that time of the show's history, like Creature from the Pit, Nightmare of Eden, Horns of Neyman, Destiny of the Daleks. A lot of it is not particularly looked that fond upon by fans. But yeah, I'm still ultimately glad that I chose this one to start off with. And if you're a massive fan of Douglas Adams and his time working on the show, or just, or if you've already got some of the other collection box sets, then I would definitely recommend picking this one up, because I think it is ultimately worth it, and especially even if you don't enjoy the stories themselves, it will definitely be worth it just from reading on the back here some of the special features. I think it will definitely be worth getting, just for the special features alone. Like I say, you've got Sharda at long last in its originally intended 6-episode format. You've got Behind the Sofa. I know that is a special feature that has been part of the collection box sets for a while now, that I think is always popular. A making of documentary for Destiny of the Daleks, Douglas Adams tribute I talked about earlier, an interview with Lala Ward, who of course played Romana 2 in this season, new audio commentaries on selected episodes with Tom Baker, Lala Ward and Catherine Skell, in conversation with Bob Baker, updated special effects on Nightmare of Eden, Tom Baker talks about everything, interview with Tom Baker, a trailer for this Blu-ray release, studio footage, it's just full of really great and wonderful special features, as are all the collection box sets really. And I think ultimately it is definitely worth getting for those special features alone. So even if this season is not your cup of tea, you don't really like it, I'd still recommend getting it for the special features alone, because from just reading on the back, they just sound so interesting, so intriguing, and so great ultimately. So yeah, I definitely would recommend picking this one up if you haven't already done so. So that's it for this quick little unboxing and quick little review, I suppose, video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. And please don't forget to press that subscribe button below, as well as the bell icon at the side of it, so be notified of when all my new videos come out. So until next time, bye bye.